Last week, Adobe updated their Creative Cloud terms of service, and boy, did it not go well. The part that drew the most criticism was Section 4.2. You grant us non-exclusive, worldwide, royalty-free, sub-licensable license to reproduce, publicly display, distribute, modify, creatively derivative works based on, publicly perform, and translate the content. And a lot of people have interpreted this to mean that just by using Adobe software or storing your work on their Creative Cloud service, the default saving option in apps like Photoshop, that you are licensing all of your work to Adobe to use as they see fit. And the reason people believe this is because that's what it says. Royalty-free, sub-licensable license to use, reproduce, publicly display, distribute, modify, create derivative works based on. I guess that's what that means, right? And that sounds exactly like AI training. If I paint something in fresco on my iPad, can Adobe include that image in their future training data without my consent and explicit permission? Is just using the app and agreeing to the terms of service all the permission that Adobe needs? Scott Belsky, VP over at Adobe, jumped on Twitter to clarify by saying this: every cloud service requires a license solely for the purpose of operating. This has been there for over a decade, but our summary language did not clarify. We posted a clarification here since this suddenly escalated. And he links to a blog post that Adobe kind of put together rather quickly to explain some of these new terms. And to be fair to Adobe and to Scott, this is true. The terms of service for any big tech service out there that hosts and modify content sounds just as intrusive as Adobe's terms of service. So let's dive into the blog post. The most important pieces here are these two bullet points. Adobe's does not train Firefly generative AI models on customer content. Firefly generative AI models are trained on data sets of licensed content such as Adobe stock and public domain content where copyright has expired. I'm going to put a pin in this particular bullet point here because this is very, very, very relevant to why this backlash is happening. Adobe will never assume ownership over a customer's work. Adobe hosts content to enable customers to use our applications and services. Customers own their own content, and Adobe does not assume ownership over the customer's work. Now, for the record, I believe them. Not my most strongly held belief. The reason I kind of believe it is because the purpose of the terms of service is to legally cover your butt and avoid being sued. Putting this explicitly in a blog post creates grounds for legal action. I don't know how binding a blog post is in clarifying this sort of thing. Not a lawyer, but the terms of service are designed to avoid litigation, not create more of it. It's also important to point out in that second bullet point, there's not a lot of dancing or legal loophole weaving in that statement. However, reading the comments online, I am very much in the minority of this opinion. I was hard pressed to find anybody on Twitter or here on YouTube in the comment section who believes Adobe's terms or clarification. Why? Well, to start with, I'm going to take an L on this one. When Adobe first rolled out Firefly, their generative AI service last year, I gave them the benefit of the doubt, which is why I'm a little hesitant to do it again today. I took it at face value and I said, cool, they have the rights to use the images their AI is trained on. And they said they were going to pay people who are part of the stock image program part of the revenue that they were going to earn from Firefly. So yeah, that was a bad take. I mean, licensing content and paying people is good. What I didn't know at the time was how they got permission, and that was really pretty shady. They changed the terms of service of their stock photo service by rolling out Firefly retroactively to make it okay for them to use that content in their training data. The photographers, designers, illustrators who had contributed work for the purpose of selling it on a marketplace had the rug pulled out from underneath them with no prior warning or idea that their work would ever be used in that way. What they were consenting to when they said, yes, I agree to these new terms of service was purposefully unclear. They did not know what they were consenting to. Designer Dean Samid said it best. I'll never forget how Adobe played us Adobe stock contributors. I was an affiliate for the program too. Really believed in it. They gutted our IP mercilessly. Stock asset creators effed over by Adobe's corporate policy. We were the canaries in the coal mine. Stock contributors, rightly, felt bait and switched. They signed up for their work to be sold, only to have that marketplace use their work to undercut them and then replace them. A lot of people use that as a side hustle, as an important part of their income. Some people, that was their entire income, and it was just taken away, and they have been paid pennies on the dollar for their use in AI training instead. It would be like a farmer selling food to the local grocery store only to find out that the store changed their rules to say if they cooked the farmer's food before selling it, they only had to pay them pennies on the dollar. What is crazy to me, absolutely crazy is that the creatives who contributed to Adobe's stock were Adobe's most fearsome, loyal customers. You saw it in Dean's tweet. He was an affiliate. He was pushing this platform for Adobe. These stock contributors were entirely bought into the ecosystem. He and other contributors had a vested interest in seeing not just the creative stock service succeed, but the entire Adobe Creative Cloud line. The more people who use Photoshop or Premiere or Illustrator, the more customers there were going to be to buy Dean's photos, to make Dean more money. Honestly, it's kind of a great business model. And Adobe threw all of that away, and it's crazy to see them cannibalize their own customer base like this. There have even been reports that people inside Adobe have been ringing alarm bells about this very thing. So why do people believe that Adobe is training their AI on our personal files that we use in Photoshop or save to Creative Cloud? Because they've done it before. They've changed their terms of service before for this exact same purpose. Whether they're doing it now or not is kind of irrelevant because the trust is gone and you can't just get it back. But what do you think? Let me know down below in the comments. Thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days.